Hey everyone, this is JP Firepledge, and today I'll be walking you through the introduction to Cyberpunk 2077 and showing you how to set up an optimized save state for your new builds. My goal for this video is to get you all a template version of V, which will give you a massive jumpstart when you have a fresh new idea for a build. So in order to do this, I'll be sprinting you through the introduction of the game's plot and explaining the repercussions of all the major decisions that you can make in the introduction prologue. We'll be taking a highly abridged run through the story, but when we get to a key point or a missable weapon, I'll let you know what your decisions mean in the long run, with as few spoilers as I can to the post-introduction story. Quick warning, since this video goes into detail on several decisions throughout the intro prologue of the game, I'll be discussing and showing in-game clips of the first 4 to 6 hours of gameplay. In that, I'll only be discussing story spoilers in detail though, up to the title card of the game. For the side quests though, to get the whole picture of the impact your decisions have, I'll be telling you of what happens in the future, but limiting it to just words and not clips of gameplay, so you can get the full impact on your own playthrough. Quickly, before we get into the game, we're going to lay down some ground rules to make this version of V a true template that we can use in the future. During the entire introduction, until we see Act 1 pop up on the left hand side of the screen, we won't be using any of our level up attribute points. The only points we'll be using are the ones gifted to us in the character creator. Same with perks. No matter what I do, I won't be picking up any perks. Essentially, you can think of this as the beginning to a level 1 playthrough in all sense of the phrase. I'll be swapping weapons frequently in order to level as many skills as possible and grab as many additional perk points as I can. By using different methods of attack, you'll keep your V from reaching any particular level cap too quickly while setting yourself up for future perk points. I'll only be doing 3 side jobs, one of which provides immediate rewards and the other 2 are for experience boosts in the run. So I want you to pick up and deconstruct all weapons you find. Craftable components can be gained from nearly anything in the game that you pick up, so getting as many as possible in the introduction is definitely within our prerogative. Play on easy or normal difficulty. We're trying to get through the intro without powering up at all, so there's no reason to really make it harder on yourself than it has to be, and you can change the difficulty later on when we get out of this tutorial. Save often and save when I do to make sure you don't miss out on anything in this run. So here we are in the character creator. Even here on the very first screen of the game, we're going to be making decisions that will impact us for up to 30 hours from now. The life path will normally just influence the first 30 minutes of gameplay and give you some special dialogue options that you can pick during the game, but also depending on your path, you'll get a special reward at some point later in the game. So those would be an iconic gun for the Corpo V, a special jacket for Street Kid V, and a dune buggy for Nomad V. So I'm going to ask you like a Professor Oak, are you a boy or a girl? The decision to be a man or a woman in the game might not impact your stats, but it directly affects who your potential romance options will be in the game. Once you're done masterfully crafting your chosen character, adjusting the gaunt expression of their face and the size of their giblets, you'll be put into the attribute selection screen. We won't go into great detail here, but if you want a comprehensive breakdown of how attributes, skills, and perks work, go and check out my previous video where we run through the system in depth. In that video, we go into detail on the attribute, skills, and perk system in this game. There's a card in the top left and a link in the description and a link in the end screen of this video. So generally one of the tips I give in that video is not to level your starting attributes beyond 5 if you're a new player, or if you don't know your preference for builds yet. A setup of 5 and 4 in your stats doesn't harm you or hinder you if one day you want to go for having 3 attributes at the cap of 20 each. So for me in this build, you'll see I went with a 6 in reflex here because I want to jumpstart on a few builds I have in mind, so that's the only reason I took that. For this playthrough, I picked a male V with pretty specialized starting stats, and we'll be starting off our day in the grimy world of corporate espionage with Corpo. Another glorious day at work in the corporate life of an Arasaka employee. Daily start a work panic attack and some well-seasoned corporate skis. V takes to the skies to meet up with Jackie Wells at Lizzie's bar. From there we learn we've been downsized, so to speak, and are tossed out into the gaping maw of Night City. Jobless, penniless, Jackie convinces V that now is the perfect time to rediscover the streets of Night City as only a legend can. After half a year of partying and debauchery, Jackie and V find themselves on the doorstep of destiny. First steps are always the toughest, but we take out all the guards quietly and rescue Mrs. Demonetized from her captors. On our way back home, we are accosted by a few men asking us for directions, smooth talk past the police blockade, and got back in time to sleep in the bed like an absolute psychopath. After waking up and chatting with Jackie on her phone and our new fixer Regina, make sure to talk through all the dialogue with the man boxing to your right, Coach Fred. Throw hands at his bot and unlock the Beat on the Brat side quest line. Before jumping on the elevator, you'll hear a man hollering for you. That would be Wilson behind you, the owner of the Second Amendment, and man currently holding on to your first iconic weapon, the Dying Knight. Go ahead and take this off his hands, as Past V already paid up for the repairs. Making sure we get every iconic weapon possible is one of our key goals in this walkthrough, and now is as good a time as any to explain them. Iconic weapons are some of the strongest in the entire game. Generally, they are variant versions of the game's standard guns, but with sometimes build-defining special features. As for the Dying Knight, you can see this gun increases headshot damage by 50% and has a reduced reload time, a great addition, but we'll be getting much better ones than that in just a little bit. Now, in the time I explained that, we had our first meetup with Misty, our spiritual guide and Jackie's girlfriend, and our old buddy Vic the Ripperdoc, and are on our way to meet up with the Dexter Deshawn. During our car ride around the city, Dex fills us in on the next big gig. With the help of all the super friends, Jackie and V will be breaking into Konpeki Plaza and stealing a prototype biochip right from under the nose of Yorinobu Arasaka, heir to the Arasaka corporate empire. First, we have to do two things. We'll meet up with our contact for the job, Evelyn Parker, and then settle a deal with a Maelstrom to recover or purchase the Flathead, a prototype spider bot. Before any of that though, we're gonna be making some detours. Once Dex drops you off in Chinatown, hop up on the middle of the shopping center and speak to the woman running the Netrunner shop. Thanks to your techie T-Bug, you'll be able to buy a Ping net hack. Go ahead and buy the hack. Like the earlier gun, it's also a freebie. Slot it into your cyber deck, scan the store's camera, ping the nearby terminal, hack that, and we'll finish our side quest, get some experience, and make some cash while we're at it. One more quest before we move on to the story. Cross the bridge to your right and Regina will message you for a job. Follow the jump path on screen now and sneak in through the woman's balcony. As soon as you jump in, she'll notice you behind her. From here, you can either talk your way through your differences or just start blasting. Shooting her doesn't really make a difference in euro dollars earned, but if you try and talk her down, you'll avoid a scolding from Regina once you leave the area. Run down the street to Lizzie's bar and meet up with Evelyn Parker. Once you're done hearing out her story, you'll meet Judy and go on a few VR brain dances to get a better idea of what you can expect once you're in the penthouse suite. During the quest, regardless of if you like Judy or not, try to be hospitable with her as she'll be one of your core side quest characters throughout the rest of the game. On the way out, Evelyn will try and cut Dex out of your deal, promising you a whopping 50% of the entire take. Feel free to answer however you want in regards to money on this job. With either her or Dex, the decision has no real long-lasting implications beyond the prologue. Now comes the Maelstrom meeting. It's here that you'll need to make some decisions that will impact your game both immediately and potentially up to 30 hours from now. Our goal, regardless of how we get there, is and always will be to get the Flathead bot from the Maelstrom. But depending on the method we use to complete the quest, future quests will change. You could potentially get a new quest, and you could get between 1 or 2 of 3 unique iconic weapons as a result of the side quest. Before anything, go ahead and drop down a save right before you get to the meeting area with Meredith Stout. From this point, we'll be stepping into a dimensional tear and live between 2 realities for a minute. In order to get the iconic pistol Chaos and the iconic rubber bat, the certain John Paulenstiff, along with a special quest involving Meredith Stout, you'll need to go and meet with Meredith Stout before starting the mission. Smooth talk your way into letting her pay for the bot with her chip. She'll drive off and leave you and Jackie to infiltrate the Maelstrom on her behalf. To ensure you get both weapons, do not remove the encryption from the cred chip and just leave it in your inventory for later. From here, play through the mission as you choose, but make sure that you pay for the Flathead with her credit chip after negotiations begin to break down. The chip will spike their system, Big Bad Royce will run off, and the two of you will have to fight out of the All Foods factory together against the Maelstrom. Fight your way through them until you get to the final showdown with Royce. Before this fight, make sure you have at least 2 strong guns and several rounds of ammo to spare. He'll be supercharged in his mecha suit in a tough fight. If you have any EMP grenades, go ahead and toss them for a temporary stun. These suits are extremely resistant to damage, but a small pack on the butt section of the mech is their weak point. Take out Royce, loot his body, and you'll find the iconic pistol Chaos. Leaving the factory, Meredith will stop you and congratulate you on a job well done, and then pass by you and enter the building. In the future, since you were able to help Meredith, you'll eventually receive a text from her. If you reply in a flirty manner to this, she'll invite you to a midnight rendezvous, after which you'll be able to pick up the pollen stuff off the nightstand once she leaves you for the night. Now let's drop a save and rewind. Let's say you don't want the chaos, or the idea of swinging a phallic bat around is something you want to keep special to Saints Row 3. Or maybe you just really like Dum Dum, your gracious Maelstrom host, and would hate to see him die in this quest. Well, if that's the case, you do have another option. This second option is one of the most delayed rewards in the entire game, but in my opinion, is far superior to either the Chaos or the Fallen Stiff. By siding with the Maelstrom in the late game mission titled Second Impact, you'll have the chance to loot the iconic pistol Doom from one of the enemies in that mission. To get this, go ahead with the meeting with Meredith Stout and convince her to give you the credit chip as you had done before, except this time, before you get to the point where you would hand over the cred chip to the Maelstrom, make sure you pick the shard from your inventory and break the encryption from the shard. If you hadn't had a lot of practice with this minigame, drop a save before attempting, as you'll only have one shot at doing this. This time, make sure you take a hit of drugs from your new buddy Dum Dum to show him how cool you are, and when prompted, pay with the clean chip, but tell Royce of the Militech's plan when you give it to him. He'll scan the chip to prove your story, give you the Flathead bot, then the Militech team will attack the compound. As in Reality 1, you'll be fighting through waves of enemies, but this time you'll have the Maelstrom boys holding you down and Dum Dum guiding you through the building. Once you get to the ending section, instead of a powered up Royce, you'll be fighting 2 Militech armored mechs. While these enemies are tanky as all hell, you're not alone in this fight, as you'll not only have Jackie, but also Dum Dum and Royce helping you wipe out the mechs. I found that since we're low level with no perks, you'll do very little damage to the mechs, so run around the outside dodging the mech fire, and kill the soldiers that spawn so Royce and Dum Dum can DPS the mechs down unabated. Once they're both down, make sure to check the bots' corpses, as they actually may drop a legendary component. Once you get outside, instead of Meredith, you'll meet the man that was in her trunk, and he'll let you know of Meredith's early retirement and that you're off the hook now because he made out best for it. If you take this route, Stealth will not text you for any fun times because she's dead, and you'll not have killed Royce, so you'll miss out completely on the Chaos iconic gun and the Fallen Stiff iconic bat. Playing through both, I actually enjoyed the Maelstrom one more and felt the promised Doom gun scales far better into the late game, but as this is your starter V, pick either option that you feel like you really want to use for your future builds and later on. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and close that dimensional rift now. Since we already met up with Evelyn and now have the Flathead, Dex calls a meeting of the minds together at the Night City's most exclusive bar, the Afterlife. V and Jackie meet T-Bug and Dex, hash out the plan, put on their best Corpo brand suits, and meet up with the auto taxi Delamain to begin their slow roll up to the Konpeki Plaza heist. Alright guys, so the plan is simple. 1. Take the cab up to the front gates. 2. Bypass security and check into our rooms. 3. Use the Flathead to disable all security between us and the penthouse suite. 4. Grab the chip, make it out of there before anyone has time to even know we exist. 5. Sit Mai Tais on the beach while this all settles down. Okay, so one thing led to another. We witnessed the most casual patricide I've ever seen, and we're about 2 minutes away from being shot full of holes by the Arasaka security team. So sprint over to Yorinobu's bedside and snag the iconic pistol Kongu. Since we have absolutely no guns, you'll really need it for the upcoming section. Go ahead and run towards the door and witness T-Bug getting a brain spike, but before leaving, double back and head up the stairs that you saw the late Saburo walk down earlier. Grab Yorinobu's club hoppin' suit from the duffel to the right and quietly head up the stairs. Take out the 2 bodyguards and try to hijack the AV. Once the AI rejects you, make sure you snag the katana out of the AV and try to access this item to the right. The Satori katana you just picked up is one of those easily missable and most powerful swords in the entire game. If you miss this item, you'll have to glitch your way back into this building and then do a swan dive from the very top of the building into the water below. From here, hustle back down the stairs, across the railing, and then take a slide down the side of Konpeki. The slide left the chip in a no less than rustled condition, so like a champ, Jackie stuck it right into the back of his head for safekeeping. We fought our way out of that hotel, taking out every bellhop and ill-mannered waiter along the way. After seeing the special Militech boss not glitch out for the first time ever, and killing him easier than half the staff along the way, hop in the elevator and get down to the lobby. Arasaka decided that this room looked prime for a boss fight and dropped a military-grade mech into the middle of their own hotel. Same as with the Militech earlier, drop a few EMP grenades and bug out to the cab. Take out the AV and make the final decision of this intro. As you plead to Jackie during his final moments, remind him of his girlfriend Misty. After passing out in the car, you'll find that Jackie has passed on. Delamain asks us where we should drop off the body of our dear bro at. While you may be worried about leading the people back to the family of the man who just robbed a multi-billion-dollar corporation, go against that instinct and send him to his family. Not only does this ensure that there is no way the corp can get their hands on his body, but opens up the option for you to not only get a whole additional side quest, but will open you up to getting the iconic La Chingona Dorada gun that Jackie used as he fought alongside you. You'll acquire this after the side mission Heroes. All that said, with chip in hand, V treks his way into the No-Tell Motel to go and collect the cash for this medium rare chicken dinner of a job complete. But then in a move that no one saw coming, our second best friend and all-around trustworthy guy Dex decided that we were too much of a liability, and instead of trying to talk things out, decided the fastest way to end things was with a bullet to my cerebral cortex. Bang, boom, cut the title screen. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the recap of the story so far and the walkthrough on how to get all the possible outcomes that come from the introduction of the game. No spoilers for you guys how you end up in your bed after being shot in the head, but make sure you stock up on your ammo, weapons, check your email, brush your teeth, and of course drop a new save state right here. This save that you just made will serve as your starting point for whenever you want to make a new build in Cyberpunk 2077. While the intro to Cyberpunk is actually pretty good on the story side, as you guys could see, playing through 4 to 6 hours of gameplay just to start your new build is a major hindrance when you're just wanting to try something out and just get an idea of what's cool in the game. To recap, once you're at this point, you now have a completely blank version of V. You have access to all the most easily missable quests, and we're able to pick up all of the missable iconic weapons in the game's prologue. Generally, depending on how many enemies you've killed or if you did additional side quests when I wasn't looking, you'll be between level 7 and 9, and since you banked all your attribute points, that means you could potentially start off the first proper missions of Act 1 with one of your attributes all the way up to 13, and nearly half of a perk tree already finished at that. The most important thing that you do at this point though is ensure that this save you just made doesn't get overwritten in any way. And honest, I would even recommend you make a second full save here just to make sure that it doesn't get overwritten. Alright, well from this point onward, the world is yours. Get out there, make your own wild builds and discover Cyberpunk's story from a whole new perspective. An extra special thanks to those of you who watched all the way to the end. Hopefully this has been helpful to those of you wanting to make sure you don't miss anything in the intro and sets up your legions of V clones off to your ideal start in the world. If any of you have questions, feel free to leave a comment or message me on my Twitter. Make sure to sub and check back on my YouTube channel. I put out gameplay walkthroughs and tip videos just like this one, but I also have some full Let's Plays on deck, like my most recent one going through Prey I think you guys might like. So as always, big thanks to any new and returning subs and all of you guys watching this video. I have been JP Firepledge, you guys have been a wonderful audience, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.